Hi, Danielle and Maddie here with another installment of Grow with Greenhouse. Today, we are here discussing the important metrics manufacturers should focus on when analyzing their ads and social media campaigns.
Yeah, so it's really cool to be here, and I'm actually really excited to talk about this topic because we get asked this question a lot, and marketers get asked this question a lot, especially in the B2B space that we're in, and a lot of our clients are in. It's really understanding what's important to executives because at the end of the day, executives, they care about ROI and they care like, well, what am I getting out of social media? What am I getting out of these ads? And what's difficult in the B2B space is it's really not as cut and dry as e-commerce.
Mhm.
Like e-commerce is like someone clicks on an ad and buys a product. Like you can make that direct line. And so we're in a tough spot in the B2B space, and a lot of building product manufacturers, deal with that every day. So interesting topic.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Have you seen any specific questions that come to mind when
Mm.
working closely with our clients?
Um, yeah, definitely. Like one thing, at the top of my head is if I'm a building product manufacturer, I'm using social media organically or with paid ads. How do I know if my ad or my post is successful if I don't sell anything directly online?
Yeah, great question. And we're going to break this one down into two parts, focusing on organic content first, engagement, but mostly focusing on DMs and inbox questions because there's a lot of opportunity we see to take this content and use this to bring your targeted audience through the buyer's funnel. You should ask your clients, or your clients should actually ask where they heard about this. We are all familiar with when you're filling out a form, how did you hear about us? And having your sales staff or any other team members ask who you're interacting with where they found that information. It's easier to draw that line and track exactly where it's coming from. And plus, then you can take these questions and all of this different content that you build up through social media and turn it into usable content like an FAQ page on your website. You can address all these issues with your sales staff and your marketing staff to come out with new content that addresses these particular questions. So instead of maybe a buyer having to do further research about your company, those questions are being immediately answered either through that FAQ page or through a sales staff or rep member, as well as in those organic social media content and later even ads that you create. So that kind of shortens that buyer's journey by addressing those questions right away.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point because, engagement is one thing like post likes or,
Mhm.
I got a 30% engagement rate, but you can take it a step further with comments and DMs and, inbox questions on Facebook that contractors or installing audiences are asking on your social media platforms, and those are really bottom of the funnel interactions. And so, there's value in that and actually reporting on that as well and saying, and then a later stage, just like you had said, asking your reps to ask these contractors, well,
Right.
where did you hear about us? And if they say social media, like, you can kind of draw that direct line.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned other engagements like likes or emojis. One opportunity you can capitalize on with links is link clicks and link and click and bio, especially in Instagram. It's a really great way to measure effectiveness of your content. One thing we like to do with some of our clients is turn the UGC content into like opportunities to promote without being salesy because you don't want to flood your content with sales posts. So one good way to drive people to take action from UGC and influencer posts is by, link in bio here, here's where you can find the product in this install or, on this project job site. And in fact, I'm going to share a little stat with you that according to Digital Marketing Suite, 49% of consumers depend on influencer recommendations. And of that, 40% have quoted that they have purchased something because of seeing it on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, any of these social media channels from one of their industry peers or from an influencer. And then another little fun stat as well is that micro influencers have a 22% higher conversion weekly with recommendations on compared to, in average consumers. So micro influencers, for those of you that might not be familiar, maybe somebody like a local, if you're targeting plumbers per se, maybe a local plumber in a bigger town that has close to 10 15,000 followers. They have a really great page, put in a lot of content and great videos. So they might be someone that is considered a micro influencer as opposed to someone more well known in the industry like a Bob Vila. Dating myself back a little bit there, but he still is a great influencer and someone a lot of us can recognize as a name. But that's a good example of what you get as far as a micro influencer versus somebody more larger scale.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to add here, like we see it every day with the clients we have in the building materials, building product space. Their best performing content is hands down user generated content, like resharing posts of contractors using their products. And I mean, even a lot of our clients are actually have set up social media ambassador programs, which I think are so effective because you have plumbers, contractors, builders out in the field really supporting your products and standing behind your products and sharing content to your target audience every day. So, we see it in practice. That's so true.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can also be content that's pulled from case studies. It's very similar. You see case studies of all magnitudes from a commercial build of maybe a hotel or a school district, all the way down to single family homes. So the case studies too go a little bit more in depth because they address a problem and they could really have a great influence on your target audience, because if they're looking for, they have a similar problem. One particular comes to mind, which was a southern state that over the last several years have seen unseasonal frost throughout the winter months, which is very unlike this state. And they needed a way to be able to carry water safely to the schools and not have them shut down with freezing pipe risk potential, which a lot of people in warm climates often forget about. So this case study addressed what the issue was and how our client's product was able to safely, efficiently, and most importantly, affordably tackle a solution for outfitting piping and in new and retrofitting old existing school districts. I believe there was over 10, maybe 18 schools in the district. So that becomes a really large project. But again, it addresses that issue that could be then carried on into other areas for the target market.
Right. Yeah, we can't stress enough. And as an agency, we stress often that case studies in our space, in the design and construction industry, that's the type of content like you have to develop. Okay, so we talked a little bit about organic metrics that you really should focus on. Well, let's talk a little bit about paid. Same question, B2B space. It's not as cut and dry as e-commerce, like click, I buy online. Like, what about some of our paid efforts like social media advertising or even, Google advertising or so forth?
Sure. Great question. Paid links, link clicks, great way to measure. You can do several different things with paid ads and link clicks, or some other ad types that I'll discuss in just a moment. But you have to have a link no matter what type of ad you are promoting on social media. It has to go somewhere. Even if you're doing a post engagement, you have to put some kind of link generally in that ad because it needs to go somewhere. So you can test a variety of different links, whether it's a landing page, a microsite, your general website, and you can run different ad groups within one campaign to test out which types of landing pages or page URLs get the most interaction. And this is really important for driving people through the funnel. If you're having a general awareness ad and you just want individuals to know about your brand and your products, you're going to create an awareness or a reach ad that's going to get the most eyes on there. And then maybe if that takes them to a specific landing page where they download a white paper, they sign up for an e-newsletter or an upcoming webinar, you can then take them to the next level of retargeting them through a video, through more interaction back to your website, or a variety of other forms, and then get them into eventually that bottom of the funnel lead generation step, which is, fill out a lead directly there on the social media page, as opposed to going back to your website. And you can incentivize them again with a white paper, free consultation for using one of maybe the BIM or CAD calculator or project selector services that you offer, something of that nature. But we can't stress enough that you don't want to do this type of advertising until you've already at least retargeted your audience at one other point, because it's a difference of spending maybe $40 per cost per result versus $5 or $10. It is meant to target your already warm and interested audience. Whereas if you're just targeting a cold audience, you're going to spend significantly more money.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. Like you targeting a contractor with a webinar about how to install, the product before they've even heard about the product. Like, how does that make any sense? Like you got to really think about who you're targeting with those like webinar trainings or ebooks or white papers, someone that, like you said, is a warmer audience. So what about on Google? If I'm saying this again, but if a manufacturer does not directly sell to their audience on their website, how can you measure that Google ads are right? Like, what is the value in Google ads then?
Well, it's really not that difficult. It's gonna, no matter what platform you're on, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Google, you're still going to focus on a lot of the same metrics. Earlier, we mentioned click-through rate and why that's important. Click-through rate helps break down how relevant your ads are. So the higher click-through rate, that means the more people, the more impressions that saw your ad, and then the more clicks. So you want that number to be higher. Industry average is about a 1 or 2% click-through rate. But if you're seeing 5, 6, even 10%, that's a really great indication that you have done everything right with your ads. You're targeting your audience correctly. The copy is intriguing and enticing and the right information for these individuals. And backing that up is also determined through the quality score. If you have a quality score below 50%, for example, then you have to step back and evaluate. Is your copy correct? Are your keywords correct? Your audience, your landing page information? Oftentimes people forget that the destination that they're being driven to has to incorporate all the same things and components that your ad has. And the quality score, as well as click-through rate, is a great indicator of that. But more important metrics that you can determine are conversions and your conversion rate. You can set up non-sales conversions such as white paper downloads, how-to videos and tutorials, product and project selector tool use, maybe even clicking to find a distributor page. That one's going to be a really important one if you're in the B2B space and manufacturing and you don't have, add to cart, buy, there's a sale. So if you're seeing an influx in visitors to the find a distributor page, that your ad is being successful. And especially if that distributor is requesting more and more product down the line. While you cannot 100% say it's because of that, but if you're seeing an increase in page visits to that particular page and an increase in purchases or even supply need for that manufacturer or distributor, it's pretty easy to draw that line without being able to directly draw that line.
Right.
And then lastly, your cost per conversion. Any good marketer and advertiser on these channels will know and understand how to measure the conversion, cost per conversion, and as well as compared to your bidding on your keywords. So if you have a strong cost per conversion that is within your target, as well as as equal to, or even in some cases lower than what you're bidding on, that's a really good way to measure, to analytic to look at, to measure if your ad is successful or not.
Absolutely. Okay, so I mean, those are very accurate and conversions and metrics that, is a little bit more relevant to the B2B space. So let's kind of wrap this up and talk about, okay, we've talked about what's important, but how can marketers and manufacturers improve their measurement, and what are some of those best practices, that they should really focus on?
Well, if you're crazy like me and actually love analytics and numbers, this advice may be a little overboard, but you can never have too much information. So as you know, I'm a big fan of my charts and my slide presentations. I like to daily track metrics, mostly to see that everything is functioning well. We all know these platforms aren't perfect and that they're ever changing. Mm-hmm. So I like to go in, peek in real quick, see that there's no major issues, everything's running. But most importantly, I like to compare internally, like a 2-week comparison. But for the clients, I always send a month-to-month comparison, and then do either quarterly or half-yearly recaps based on the client's preference, tracking all the most important metrics, analyzing the percentage increase or decrease, and then looking at what is causing this. Sometimes it's factors beyond our control. As you know, it's an ever-changing landscape. For example, back in June, when Facebook updated their iOS privacies and they're losing a lot of the targeting metrics, that's really going to change things. Instagram going away from a highly visual to now a more video-based platform, incorporating reels and other key points you have to touch on to get your, as a business, to get your content shown. Those factors, if you're not making those changes immediately, will show up in 1 month versus another. So taking a look at what's going on in the landscape, the algorithms, any updates and changes, because they're always changing. We'll talk about it at another time, but some of the changes coming to Google, and what types of ads are going away and what you're going to have to focus on for 2022. And just things like that. Always keep track through charts and monthly reports, even if the client doesn't ask for it, because you as a good marketer will know that is the best way you can measure success.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good point. I mean, we experienced it earlier this year, where something you're used to reporting on, all of a sudden the platform's not providing it, and you got to look into other third-party platforms that can give you the information that you need. So really important. Okay, I think really that covers it, and we really answered the question. This question that we ask ourselves, or that professionals in this space get asked often. So thanks so much for that.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for helping out here today. If any of you have any questions, feel free to subscribe to our newsletter. Follow us on social media, where we give out bi-weekly newsletters and videos that contain all of this information. We talk about these industry topics, all of the changes that you can see, and then we have some really great helpful tips for improving your marketing, sales strategies, and more.
Yep, and you can go to greenhousedigitalpr.com.
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much, Maddie. It was great talking to you today.
Thank you.